LA
Oh yeah.
Thieves looked really dominant. They gotta win Major One, right? I think that's what everyone's thinking right now.
I mean, I think that's general consensus, but I do see some glaring struggles or weaknesses in their game. So I think they are the main contender though.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. Just watching them play, like that first match, I'm like, definitely. But FaZe,
Hmm.
I think I see a lot of what I'm personally worried about with the team. A little bit of leadership issues. Maybe that's not what's the main cause of some of this issues, but you see they'll lose a lot of momentum in a search and destroy, for instance. Once things
Hmm.
start going the opposite way, you saw that with the Cloud9 search. FaZe
Yep.
almost was able to do that to them a couple times. I don't think they're bad or anything. Like, that's not my
No.
point. I just think they're going to be a swingy team, if that makes sense. I think they're going to go a lot
They,
off emotion, kind of like Optic as well. But I kind
ooh,
of noticed that this
ooh.
first weekend.
Well, they kind of remind me a lot. Like some people compare this game to AW in a lot of ways. And if I were to compare them to like a team from back then, I compare them to the Optic team back then, just because like how they play the Surge is very similar. They're just trying to run and gun. It feels like instead of really just that slow, methodical, occasional route taking kind of game that you typically see these days.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much like about how Optic played in AW, just because I've only watched matches
Yeah.
like retroactively and stuff. But I
Hmm.
think that's kind of what Optic's issue was towards the end of last year as well. Is they were used to that working, and then they kind of needed to take that step back. Because
Hmm.
you look at their Major 3 win, I think a lot of people, once champs is over, we don't look at this much, but I've
Right.
been editing that Dashy series, and Major 3 was like, they were just playing really well with each other. I
Hmm.
think champs, they locked in the fundamentals as well on top of that. Because Major 3
Yes,
seemed to be more like they just had the momentum. They were like raw, just
they did.
better than everyone else. Where champs, they kind of locked in the fundamentals. I think that's how Thieves is going to have to be a little bit this year. I think they're going to
Hmm.
start off hot, and they're going to have to make sure they don't just ride momentum and they're actually maintaining fundamentals, because I think that's the only way they fall off middle year here. Not saying they're going to win anything, even playing at or
Right.
everything playing at their best, but I think that that's probably they're going to be their biggest struggle through the year, especially
Hmm.
with Optic and FaZe not going anywhere. Toronto looks much better than I think everyone thought.
Yep.
Rocker looked good. I'll take that as I kind of thought they would look good as well. But yeah, so
Hmm.
I don't think they're going to be. I think they'll still be competition, but starting off the year, I can see them just bulldozing Major One. So I wouldn't be
Oh,
shocked by that at
definitely.
least, especially with Scrap's
I think.
history. I mean, he won last Major One as well. So
Well, they also have probably the most talented roster out of I'd say out of all the teams,
yeah, mm,
and that's one of the reasons why I think they're kind of just running gun, have so much confidence. You know,
yeah, I might
they
disagree as far as most talented, but because I mean, Optic didn't get any worse. I'll be honest.
no, they didn't.
Um, I know what you mean. But I think Optic matches up okay with LA Thieves as long as they're all playing pretty good. I know Kenny had a bit of a
Hmm.
rough one against Boston. And he's known to
Yeah.
do that. But yeah, I'd say Thieves probably. If you wanted to build a dream team after last year, they're definitely it. I mean, there's the argument there.
Oh yeah. Well, the surprise for them was Envoy. I don't think hardly anybody likely expected Envoy to be nearly as good, and I think that's one of the main like underlying reasons that they're doing so well.
Yeah, Envoy's been really good, and I think he's gonna have to be. Um,
Hmm.
he was really good the start of last year as well. Ghosty's really solid. Um, and I think they're gonna have to carry the weight and just take it off of Hydra and Scrap so they can do what
Mm-hmm.
they brought there to do. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, so far so good. So yeah, I mean, I can see them winning Major 1. I don't see why they wouldn't be the favorite unless the next few weeks of qualifiers goes bad. I'm excited to see what the minor is all about. Like, I know it's a single limb, but who's gonna win that? Since that's coming up
Right.
before the major, and kind of seeing if that affects anything roster wise or momentum wise going into a tournament. Because you never know. Like when you add something new like that
Mm.
in there.
Oh, definitely.
Did FaZe fall off, or is it just a tough start? Obviously teams have started slow in the past. 0-2 is probably the worst
Mm-hmm.
this roster trio whatever has started. So, what do you think? Tough start or a full fall off?
I think it's closer to just a tough start, mainly due to just like looking at the matchups they've had so far. Um, Everybody's saying LAT's the favorite. They managed to make it out of Game 5. They bring that hard point was a clincher though. For the Game 4, and then Ultra. I think Ultra just had a clinic on FaZe that time around.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was prepared for Ultra to be this good, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And that's partly why I think FaZe kind of has fallen off in a more significant way. I kind of said before the season, I think they're going to take a step back. I see them kind of being a little more Vanguard-ish, like still good. I mean, there's no way these guys are
Mm-hmm.
placing terrible.
No.
Like I see them less dominant of a Vanguard season, kind of in and out of grand finals, not really winning anything. I guess maybe like an Optic in MW2, just kind of there but not. Just because
Right.
I think they got a lot more issues than they were kind of prepared for. Just because they won EWC, I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of what I saw in champs that kind of led to them falling off still there. Which, like I
Yeah.
said, I think it's all fixable, but I just don't know how
Mm-hmm.
much this roster can change after what we've seen for I don't know 3 years now. I mean, flipping AR here and there, but they've kind of
It's been since Vanguard,
I
pretty
mean,
much.
they've kind of struggled consistently with, um, they'll be consistent for a lot of the year, but
Mm-hmm.
if they're not even that, then I don't see what they're gonna be able to do. I don't know if they'll make a roster change. They might, but like I said, I think it's a little more of a fall off than tough start because I think the same kind of problems are gonna persist through the year. Not saying they may win a major, they may not be bad. Like obviously, don't expect them to be bad, but I do think they're kind of on that downward trend
Well,
from that we saw in champs the last year.
well, do you think the league has just gotten more competitive since the Cold War season?
Well, I'm not
Especially
basing this
considering.
off Cold War either. I'm kind of saying like I definitely has, but I'm kind of saying I think that this is like what we noticed last year towards the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. We did.
Um,
Yeah.
I just don't think this roster is gonna gel quite as well. Um, Dealing with some of these issues. And yeah, I mean, I like to see the league more competitive, and I'd like to
Mm-hmm.
see FaZe, maybe suffer a little bit of what Optic had, when they're struggling and not
For a
make a
while.
championship Sunday for once. Other than champ, I mean, last tournament in CDL they didn't. It was champs going out
Yeah.
top six, so maybe they will. But like I said, I don't think that they're gonna be like bottom team, but I think they're
Right.
gonna be more on the like outside, you know, looking in on the top teams this year. They may reach that and then like fall back off. I just don't see that
Mm-hmm.
consistency. Like I said, I honestly wouldn't be shocked. I don't know who else they play this weekend outside of Falcons, but I'm pretty
Right.
sure it was somebody pretty solid, maybe Rocker. Wouldn't be surprised if they lost to Rocker, personally, if that is who they play. but like that level team. I think they can lose to them, and I
Mm-hmm.
think they can beat them as well. I just think that's kind of how they're going to be this year. Whereas the other years, I mean, if they weren't playing Toronto or Optic or LA when they were better, they were winning. Like
Mm-hmm.
everyone knew it. So I think this year there's going
Oh
to be a
yeah.
little more competitive for everyone who hasn't been able to beat FaZe, in a while. So we'll see.
I could see that.
But yeah, I mean they had a tough weekend. You could see a little bit more life. I thought they were getting 3-0'd by Thieves, so I think
Mm-hmm.
it was good for them to show that life because it was looking pretty grim. If they get 3-0'd by Thieves and lose to Ultra the way they did, I mean Ultra kind of handled them. Let's be real.
Yeah. That was a reverse sweep after the game one.
Yeah, I mean the FaZe were out of it after that first game. I mean they slammed them that first map, but
They
it was
did.
just that was all they had apparently. And yeah, I mean lose a tough one to Thieves. I think it's a
Yeah.
little. I'll be intrigued to see how they bounce back and if they make a change. I don't think they've ever really made a change mid-season, obviously, in CDL, but I mean, they've only been
No.
bad a couple times, like in
Yeah.
Call of Duty. Um,
Right.
Obviously, there was a lot more roster changes back then because seasons were longer, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'll be interested to see, but um, I think it's fair either way you look at it. So, and if you're a FaZe fan, I mean, kind of, I know you guys haven't been winning as much as you used to, so I don't want to rub it in too much, but that's kind of how everyone else is. I mean, you lose
Is feeling.
games too, so
Yeah.
have fun with that.